Hey everybody, welcome to MT Guitar. Today we're going to talk about advanced harmony on the guitar. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to start with 2-5-1s. 2-5-1 progressions are the quintessential jazz progression. They show up in almost every standard I can think of, at least classic standards. And 2-5-1s show up also in blues quite a bit, especially when we get more into jazz blues and even regular blues. And they show up in rock and pop, although we may not recognize them to be the same type of chords because generally they're not using upper extensions, which I'll get into. 2-5-1 is also related to 4-5-1 or the 1-4-5 progression. We'll take it from more of a beginner intermediate level with chords that maybe you already know and recognize, including open chords and bar chords, into things that are a little more advanced. Especially bar chords we want to get away from when we're doing upper extensions, and I'll talk about why. This will all be tabbed out on the Patreon, so you're welcome to check that out. So, if we're in the key of C, the 2 chord would be D minor, no sevenths yet, just regular chords, to a G major, or open. So D minor, 2 chord, G, 5 chord, C major, 1 chord. If we add the 7th to those chords, diatonically, without altering anything, we would naturally have a D minor 7, a G 7, and a C major 7. And that's just in the key of C major. Those are open and those are nice, but let's also try some bar chords. So D minor 7, right, G 7, C major 7. Really good chords to know, okay? But as I mentioned earlier, we want to actually move away from bar chords. And I have a pathway to do that. And the reason we want to move away from them is because we want to have our fingers available to play all these extensions. And really, we're pretty much tied down, especially with a chord like this. This is all 6 strings, but we really just have the pinky. We can add a couple notes, but we want to break away from bar chords. All right, so if I look at a D minor, the way that I want to move forward is to know what is the first note we can do away with. What is expendable? And the 5th, believe it or not, is the first note we can throw out in more advanced harmony. That's true for piano too, and it's true for guitar. So we don't really need the 5th. So the root would be the 1. We definitely need the 3rd and 7th. All right, the 3rd and 7th, they're called guide tones. So if we have the 1, 3, and 7, those are called shell voicings. And that's really where you want to start. So if I take a D and I go to the 3rd, or the flat 3rd I should say because it's minor, and flat 7, that would be a shell voicing of D minor 7. I'm skipping the 5th. There's the 5th, we don't need it. Same with G7. If I go to G7, here's the 1, there's the flat 7, there's the 3. That's a shell voicing. If I go to C major 7, here's the 1, here's the 3, here's the 7. There's a C major 7. So the whole thing would sound like this in a quarter note pulse. 3, 4. Now we're going to take it to C6. Let's do it again. Okay? And if we take away the root, meaning no 1, we would have guide tones, only 3 and 7. It's a really good exercise to do that in any jazz or blues context. So if I take a D minor 7 and I take out the D, I would have this. G7, take out the G, C major 7. Those are just the guide tones. Now we don't hear the bass because we're just playing solo by ourselves. But a lot of times you do have a bass player or a backing track, and you can practice this. You can also sing the bass, believe it or not. So, do, 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 so, do, do, do. Okay. All right. Now, what do we accomplish by doing that? Well, we have a lot of fingers free. All right. So we're going to put the root back, but eventually you can take the root out and it's pretty sweet as well. So if I put the root here, 1, flat 3, flat 7, I can now add a 9. Beautiful chord here. That's a D minor 9. Why is that the 9? Because the E is the 2nd note of D, but it's on top of a seventh. So when we stack thirds, 1, 3, 5, 7, when we get to 7, we want to keep going with 9. Doesn't really make sense to call it a 2 if there's a 7 there. So D minor 9, 5, 3, 5, 5. Now for the G, look at this. 1, flat 7, 3. We've got the pinky, so we can put the pinky on the 13. That's a G13. I'm muting the 5th string now with my first finger. Now, why is that a 13? Well, that's an E, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the 6th note. So it's kind of a high number up there, but really it's just a 6 up an octave on top of a 7. Okay. So then we would have C major. There's a 1, 3, 7. Now we can add a 9. And that's a 9 because it's a D note, and that's the 2nd note of C major. So, really beautiful stuff here. Let's try it out in a nice quarter note pulse. 3, 4. Down to a C6. Flat 13. Okay, so what I did there is I went 13, then flat 13, by going to the 4th fret, E flat, then C major 9, and then this is a C major 6. If I bar that 2nd fret 3rd string. All right, now we can even go a little crazier. We haven't even done the 1st string yet. So if I bar my D minor 9, I would have a D minor 11. A little tricky to play because we have so many fingers on here, but we've got root, flat 3, flat 7, 9, 11. There's the G note. That's an 11 because it's the 4th note of D. So hopefully that's starting to make sense. You can add these extensions. Now for the G, I'm going to go 1, flat 7, 3, flat 13, flat 9. Some would call that a sharp 5 on the 4th fret, 2nd string, but I'm calling it a flat 13. All right? 2, 3. These are kind of tricky chords to play, a lot of fingers. And then C major, let's go C major 6. It's like a C major 7 with a 13 as well, depending on how you look at it. But it would be 1, 7, 3, 6, or 13. C major 13. So, let's try that. D minor 11. Ready? 3, 4. Alright, now let's go up the fretboard and try some 2-5-1 action, in a different bass note. If we have, the D to G to C, that's going from the 5th string to 6th string to 5th string root. What if we start on the 6th string, go 5th string, and then 6th string root? That would be a 2-5-1, starting from a different string set, okay? So, you might know this D minor 7, the E minor shaped bar chord, but we want to get away from that. Let's do our guide tones here. Root, flat 7, flat 3. Now for the G, 7, root, 3, flat 7, shell voicing. C, root, 7, 3, shell voicing. No 5th in any of these chords. So, 1, 2. Just the essential information so that we can do more advanced extensions. All right, now, right away we can bar this to add the 5 to the D minor 7. It's kind of nice. And then we can do a G9, 1, 3, flat 7, 9. And then a C major 7 here. Really good chord to know right here. 1, 7, 3, 5. It's not like the 5 is bad. We don't want to avoid it necessarily, but we can cut it if we need to. So let's try that. 3, 4. G9, C major 7. All right, let's spice these up. What if we do a D minor 11? Root, flat 7, flat 3, 11. This is a straight G7, but we can make it a G7 flat 9. Why is it a flat 9? Because here's the 9, there's the flat 9. So, a little tense there. there, which is fine because it's dominant. And then we'll do a C major 13. Root 7 third 13. 3, 4. All right. Okay, and that's great. But let's say we take out the root because we're either playing with a bass player, a backing track, or sometimes a solo. I'll just take out the bass and the ear kind of figures it out without it. So let's say I'm here. I can do some of these same voicings that we were doing earlier. So here's a D minor 11. This is a G7 flat 13. And here's a C major 9, 6-9 actually. Flat 3, flat 7, 9, 11 of D minor. No root. And see, it's a little easier to play because I'm not having to play any bass notes. Here's a G7, but I'm playing flat 7, 3, flat 13, sorry, and then root. There is a root there, just not in the bass. That's a G7 flat 13. C major 6-9. Here's a 3, 6, 9, 5. All right. Same thing up here. I can do a beautiful D minor 9 up here. Flat 7, flat 3, 5, 9. And then a G13. Here's the guide tone going down for the G7 to a 3, 7, 9, 13. C major 6, 9. 7, 3, 6, 9. So 3, 4. See how with advanced harmony we can basically start to explore these voicings. So this is just the beginning, scratching the surface, but you'd want to take this through different keys. But basically we've covered starting the 2-5-1 on the 5th string or the 6th string, and you can take that through different keys. And also you can just practice shell voicings, on a blues, for instance. G blues, shell voicings. So that's different. I don't want to get off topic, but basically we want to understand the 3rd and 7th if you really want to get better at playing more lush chords with more voicings, more advanced extensions. And once you get that 3rd and 7th down, you can start adding those 9s, 11s, 13s. Okay? So hopefully this makes sense. Let me know. There'll be more to come. This is just getting us going. So practice this, and we'll build from there. Enjoy.